Hello. How are you all? You doing good? I got a I got a load of Enoch drafts done today. I look real crazy. Um, I promise it's fake. I didn't. I always go live in cosplay, so I was like a little worried. Fourth of 8 straight days working. That sounds terrible. I hope it gets better. Hello. How y'all doing? Full of green. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming that's good. Green sounds like a good color to be full of. So, you got new books. That sounds awesome. Oh, okay. That is good. Okay, awesome. When did the live start? Just now. You just like a minute ago. So, got it. Putting pockets in it. Oh, nice. That's nice. Pays to know how to sew. Congratulations on your green. I could imagine I could probably enjoy my own voice better when I'm full of green. Why haven't I edited? No, because I would fuck up. That's why. That's why I haven't tried editing that way. You're vertical. You're gonna watch this live vertically? That sounds. If anything, you should be horizontal. Or like that Tetris block that bends, you know? You sit or something. I don't know. It seems like an odd choice. I'm not criticizing. I'm just a little confused. I know some people are straight vertical because they're working. So all the working peeps that just have this through their headphones, good luck, and I hope you make it. We'll be waiting for you. Anyway, I shot a lot of content today, and the live's gonna be a little shorter. Hopefully that's okay. So pretty much all we have left is chapter 11. There's a preview for the next book, but we're going to end up reading it anyway when we start the next book next week. So I thought we would just play a bunch of random games in Discord after that to make up for it. And I'll post Enoch all week if you want to. I shot a lot today. I have a lot of Enoch drafts left that I've just not posted. Why, do you ask? Because I don't know. Because I have a lot of other drafts of other things, and I'm posting those, and I'm backed up on so much content. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to update the YouTube, but see, the thing is, and what happened is we did 9 and 10. I downloaded 9 and 10, or like 9 and part of 10, and it let me download it. It said it downloaded it. The timestamp seemed correct, but anytime I tried to upload it to YouTube, it would crop it at exactly like 11 minutes. And I was like, why? And I couldn't figure out why it was doing it, so I deleted it and was going to go re-download it. It won't let me re-download it. But the thing is that I did not know that. I was still trying this over and over. And the rest of chapter 10 last week, I went to download that one, and notice we went through the entire live last week. We made it all the way through the rest of chapter 10. Everything went flawlessly. I violated community guidelines, apparently, and it won't let me have my live. It didn't give me a violation. It doesn't say that I have a violation. But the live, when I go to download it, says it's unavailable, and the reason it gives me is that I violated community guidelines. So I don't know. So at first I thought all I had to do was record the rest of 10. Well, I was going to do a studio recording of Peregrines anyway. So I just did the whole of chapter 10. I recorded all of chapter 10. I was editing chapter 10 and still trying to upload the 9 and 10 episode. And it still is not working. It won't let me re-download that one. I'm not sure what the deal is, but it crops it at 11 minutes in every single time. So now, not only did I record 10 and now not have chapter 9 that I can't get a hold of, I have 10 completely done and ready to go, but I don't have 9. So now I have to re-record 9. I recorded 9. I have not edited 9. So I just have to go back, finish editing 9, and then I'll upload the studio recording of both 9 and 10. But it's taking a hot minute because, once again, I didn't know that this was a problem. I messaged Diana, and they were like, how's stuff? And I'm like, technical difficulties. It just won't let me have my live. I don't know what's going on. I'm so upset. It does. It hates me so much. I'm like, you just gotta record it. You just gotta let me have it. Just let me have it. What do you not want to let me have my own content for? And then I wasn't even aware that I violated community guidelines. Anytime anybody reports me, it'll tell me that it reports me. Like, it'll say, like, a warning down at the bottom. And then if I get banned, it'll say, like, you know, this is a violation or whatever. This was violated for this reason. And then you can appeal it. The live wasn't taken down. We went all the way to the end. All the way through. I didn't get a warning. I didn't get anything. And then at the end, it said it was unavailable for a while. Because normally right after the live, it won't let you download it right away. You have to wait a few hours at least. Normally by the next day, it'll let me download it. So I was like, oh, well, that's not unusual. And I waited until the next day. And then it said I violated community guidelines. But there's another section where you can click on where it shows you all of your violations. I don't have a violation from last week. I don't know what they're talking about. But they won't let me have my content. Seems sus. So, yeah, stop, you violated the law. Yeah, so I don't know what I did, but I violated something apparently. It doesn't even tell me the reason. Anyway, so I'm slightly irritated with TikTok right now. But I should have that fully edited, hopefully by Thursday or Friday, and I'll be able to upload all of them. And if it lets me download this one, I'll upload that one right after, and then that'll be the full book, and you can hear what you missed. So sorry that you're missing out on content, because I'm having hard times over here. I'm having hard times. Technically, it's supposed to be Enoch O'Connor from Peculiar Children. But thank you. I'm taking it as a compliment. But I'm trying to work everything out and get everything uploaded and updated so you all can go back, because I know some people have missed some stuff. And, of course, I'll give you a short recap of everything, but I'm so irritated by that. You have no idea. It's just been me cursing out TikTok for days. But once I get that worked out, we're all going to be solid. I probably won't get to it tonight because I'll be playing video games with you guys all night. So I won't have any time. It'd be really hard to update and play video games at the same time. I'm just going to tell you that right off. Dude, I'm taking that as a compliment for real. I feel honored. You know what? At least if people mistake the cosplay, they mistake it for something good, you know? I'm never offended because some people just haven't, you know, been around for the whole thing. Thank you for all the cat paws. Thank you very much. I have debated so many times leaving all the cursing in. Funny story. If you want to hear it, I was paying my... This sounds like it's going to be a boring story, but I promise you it's funny. It's funny to me at least. But I went to go pay my gas bill and I called, and they have like an automated recording where like it's like press 1 if you want to whatever the fuck. And so I'm like going through it and I put in all my payment information, and this thing is bunko, like it's just buku crazy. And a lot of the time it just doesn't, I don't know, the whole recording system is flawed. So like it asked me my information and how I want to pay it, and I give it my card information and everything, and then it asked me again, and I was like, I already said how I wanted to pay it. So then I have to enter all that again, and then and I'm already getting frustrated because I've been on this phone for a while. And then afterward it asks if I wanted to go ahead and pay the amount on the next bill, and I was like, no. And then it was like, this amount is due on this, you know, and then it was like, how would you like to pay? And I have to enter my payment information again because I didn't want to pay the next bill too that had already generated. And I was like, no, I don't. And so I started yelling into the audio recording, and then I was like cursing up a storm, and then it didn't recognize the words. So it's like, let me get someone to help you. And I was like, no. Do not transfer me to customer service. And it's like, we're going to transfer you to a customer support representative. And I was like, fuck Christ. And I don't want to be mean to customer support because they're just doing their job, but I'm losing it with audio recording. I will talk mad shit to an audio recording every day of the week, but I will never talk back to a customer service representative in my life. But it's transferring me to customer service, and now apparently they have a callback system. So it was like, if you want to receive a call back, blah, blah, blah. And so I hit the option, and it's like, you're going to receive a call back within 10 minutes. Literally a minute later, I set my phone down, go to check the clothes in the dryer, come back, I have missed the call. And by now I'm like losing it. And I was like, did I just miss it? And apparently it has you say your name for the recording. So I say my name, and then I said, Jesus fucking Christ. And then that made it into the recording. So then I opted to receive the call back again, and it used the same information for the second call. And then when the call came through, it was like, this is a call for, and then it stated my name and my voice, and then it had me going, Jesus fucking Christ, in the background, and I lost my shit. I immediately just de-escalated myself. And I was like, that's like me editing footage. Every single time I flub a line, I'm like, fuck! And then I have to edit that out. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm like, why do I do that? I know I'm going to have to edit it out. I just be saying mad shit into microphones. No one should hand me a microphone. And the thing is I know I've worked in customer support that have callbacks. They hear that. So I'm sure what happened is the rep probably thought I was going to be a total asshole when I got on the phone. So they heard that recording and were like, Nope. So they called back, let it ring once, and then hung up. I know exactly what happened. I have worked there. I I don't know why I do this. I save some bloopers so that I'll eventually upload them for your entertainment if you'd like that. But I have a separate file where every time I fuck up and what I think someone might think is funny, I'll clip it and then I'll copy it, cut it, and then I'll go to the other file, the blooper reel, and then I'll paste it. And so it's just a long string of me doing whack ass nonsense into a microphone. Sometimes you'll hear me talk to the birds or the cat. Like, I had to get Pond off the corner of the couch the other day while I was recording because I have the rolly desk now in the living room. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the birds to sleep. If you put like a blanket over the cage, they'll go to sleep. They'll quiet down. So I've been doing that. And then the birds quiet down, then I start recording. And Pond will hop up on the arm of the chair, but I realized even if she's doing absolutely nothing and being perfectly calm and making no noise, she purrs so loud. And the microphone is like a foot away from her, but you can hear like into the microphone just over and over, and I'm like, Pond, you have to move. You can't do that. Can't be here. Can't be here. It sounds like it's so loud with this new microphone. The microphone is great, but like so loud, it sounds like a tiger. She's so adorable. I'm like, should I leave that in? I feel like they'll like it, but like I feel like that's gonna become distracting because it's nonstop. Pond purrs 98% of the time. Pond purrs, please and thank you. I should make a compilation of just Pond purring into my microphone. Either that, or maybe I should add it to the end of the video, like just a little Pond purr, and then we clip out Pond ASMR. Yes, there we go. See, that sounds lovely. That might do that. So it won't detract from the book or anything, but it'll be a little something extra. Sorry. I thought my hand was black for a second. It's really getting that way. I have done a lot today. Started a Pawn Purse, start a Patreon for that. I've wondered, like, if I started a Patreon, one, who would purchase that? Two, what the fuck would I do in there? Maybe I should have all the bloopers behind a Patreon. No. Pondrion purchase. Killing me with the puns today, guys. You're really killing it. Good job. I'm gonna tell her you said that. I'm gonna tell Pond she's Pondtastic right after the fuck I get off. I was like, I guarantee you, I make a Patreon and make like $5 a month. That's not gonna generate anything. But like, and I'm like, also, like, I don't know. I do this as like a hobby and not like a money-making venture. But it's turning into something that encapsulates a lot of my spare time. So maybe I should make money off of it. I spend like every night I work, I get off work, I come home and I record or I edit and I do footage. And then I go to sleep and then I wake up, go to work, come home, edit footage. Like most of my life is cosplay stuff. Even when I'm at work, I'm like, I could do this. When I get home, I'm going to redo chapter 9. And then after I do chapter 9, we'll go ahead and record chapter 11 and then edit chapter 10. And then if I edit that down, if I can do that in at least an hour, and I do that all day. So, like, maybe I should. I don't know. That's true if we had a Taco Bueno. But... oh no. What? I could at least get some tater tots. I will get some tater tots. Tater tots. Yeah, maybe I could do that. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about the Patreon thing. We'll see how it goes. I could move a lot of stuff over there. Sorry, now I got a bunch of ideas. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I don't know exactly how many people would be interested in that kind of content. So, like, I don't know. But if you guys want pond content, I know I need to get more pond content. The trouble is getting it. Because the thing is my cats are shady as hell. And whenever you try and film them do anything, they'll stop immediately. It's like they know. So, like, if Pond's acting up, if I whip out my camera, it's a surefire way to get her to quit. Whatever she's doing, she'll just immediately stop. She's like, I'm a good cat. I'm a great cat. I'm so pretty. And I was not doing that thing I was doing moments previously. Like, she will stop immediately. So, the trouble is getting it. I know I can get her on voice recording because she doesn't know how that works. Put the coffee cat and cosplay tip content on a Patreon. I do. I want to get one of those collar cameras for Pond. That'd be so funny. You'd see way more of my house than you'd ever want to. My house is a wreck. It also looks crazy as hell in here. Like, we look like a storage facility for, like, anime posters. Like, it doesn't, half the time in any given room, you can't tell what color the wall is before we put shit on it. The only exception is this corner, which is why I do lives here. You've probably caught clips of Dave's office if you've been in here long enough to know that's what our whole house looks like. It's just plastered head to toe with posters. You can't see anything. It's sometimes very disorienting and overwhelming. There's a lot of colors and it's very everywhere. It's crazy. Yeah, the Twinks are in the bathroom. If you've ever seen my bathroom, you'll know that there's a giant wall scroll of Oran High School Host Club in the bathroom. And because we didn't have anywhere else to put it, because we cleared space for the JoJo posters, because we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in the living room, so we took down Oran High School Host Club and we didn't have somewhere else to put it, so we put the Twinks in the bathroom, and now it's become a running joke because at some point someone went into our bathroom and was like, why didn't no one warn me there were Twinks in the bathroom? And because they were like, I couldn't pee. And I was like, didn't know that was a problem. I hardly notice them anymore. In the every place. So, I don't know if I'd actually put a cat camera on her. You'll just see a pile of my laundry. She'll just sleep in my laundry for 5 hours. That's what you'd see, probably. It wouldn't actually be as fun as I think it would. If I can get one clip of this cat muscling the dog out of his bed, though, on camera, That would be priceless. Now that's something. An old Greg painting in the dining room. That just classed the place up a little bit, to be real. It was not Nodi. To be clear, though, it does sound like something Nodi would do. I have to text Nodi. Oh, sorry. I was like, I actually forgot to text Nodi the other day. The Danny DeVitos were the limit. That really tested the limits of our friendship. I was like, look, you can't quit posting Danny DeVitos all over my house. I'm still afraid that they're gonna be somewhere. You know, like I'm gonna go digging in something that I haven't been in a while. Like I'm like, oh man, where is this item that I haven't seen in, you know, like a year? And then I'm gonna go and look for something, and then there's gonna be like a Danny DeVito on the bottom of it. Such a bad joke. That was terrible. Jesus. Anyway. Revenge of screen posters. My petty revenge is going over to their apartment and booting up their Genshin file and then placing them right next to a hypostasis and then logging out immediately. And then they think it's them. So it's kind of a practical joke, but I never get caught because they keep thinking that they're doing it. So... See, the thing is that Nodi is the type of person who would enjoy that, who would think that was funny. I'm the type of person that after I find the fifth one, I'm going to throw a rager. I'm going to be so pissed. Like at that point, it just becomes something for me to clean up. And I'm like, please stop. Please don't do this. How many more are there? I'm begging of you to get these out of my house. I do not want to do this weird scavenger hunt that you signed me up for. I actually hate this. My plan was to relax today, and now I cannot relax until I find every Danny DeVito in this house. So my plans are ruined. I just want you to know. Oh, Alice, I don't think Alice would not. Alice is pretty chill. Alice doesn't like eat a whole... Well, I take that back. I don't think Alice would eat rubber duckies. Or pictures of Danny DeVito. From the amount of Danny DeVito in that apartment, in Nodi's apartment, I think Alice is very well aware to not eat anything with Danny DeVito or Nicolas Cage on it, because Nodi has so many things with Nicolas Cage and Danny DeVito on them that I feel like Alice would recognize the danger. I mean, I could be assuming a lot, but I feel like Alice is aware. Alice knows. Alice is a good cat. I love Alice. She's so calm. It's a pet. Anyway. Nodi, I was FaceTiming Nodi the other day while I was feeding their cat, and Nodi was a little worried that they wouldn't eat, so I was like over there, and I was like, I'll try and catch her, and every time I aimed the camera at her, she would stop eating, and so I was like, don't mind me, just gonna hold my phone real weird and look over here, and like, I had to do this weird pseudo cats know when you're filming them, I swear. I don't know how people on TikTok get so much good footage of their cats. I'm like, please train me. Teach me your ways. Do your cats not care? Do your cats like making TikTok videos? Because my cat will not cooperate with me in the slightest every time I try and make content with my cat. But if I'm just hanging out, doing whatever, she will let me do whatever I want. If I don't have a camera on, I'm not holding my phone, she's all about it. I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. See, I'm like, maybe I need to, like, give my cat some catnip. Like, wait till they lose it and then start filming. Because Pond would do that. Pond will freak out for the first few minutes and then she'll be totally calm and let me do whatever I want. Maybe I need to... That's how I do it. I get Pond some catnip. I let her go nuts. Film the entire thing. And then whenever I want to shoot other content with her, I wait till she calms down. And then she'll let me carry her like a baby so I can film it. The thing is like I carry her like a baby all the time. And if I'm not filming it, she's totally chill with it. She won't move. In fact, you have to support her. She won't support herself. So you'll be holding her and you'll go to like let her down and she won't even try to like climb up or anything. She'll be 5 feet off the ground and just like floop, like she will not care. You are responsible for her when you're holding her. And but she'll let me, I'll walk around the house for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, just holding Pond, and she'll fall asleep like that. But if I'm filming it, absolutely not. She wants out of here immediately. I don't get it. Aww. All right. So I'll look into that as a content option. Actually, catnip might work. I'm going to give my cat catnip and see what results I get. I'll update you if that goes out well. And then maybe I can make more cat content. Didn't really think about it. We don't give her catnip that much. It's like a sometimes treat. Okay, chapter 11. Do we want to get into it? You ready? Spend a little bit more time talking because we don't have as much content to get through today. But this is going to be the final chapter of book 1 of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. So, this one, like I said, ends a little better than the other ones, but still not totally satisfying. So if you're mad, it's not my fault. That's the way he wrote it, and I assume no responsibility. This isn't my fault. I didn't do it. Direct all your complaints to anyone but me. So there's that. Now, since the last 2 chapters are not on YouTube, I will go ahead and let you know, give you a little update. Jacob, bad stuff going on in present day. A man got murdered. Jacob goes back to tell Miss Peregrine that something suspicious is happening outside the loop. They're all kind of afraid that it's a white. So Miss Peregrine locks down the entire house. Naturally, she wants to protect all her kids. Now, the only thing is the kids don't want to be protected and they're super mad about being cooped up all the time. So they devise this really great plan where Enoch is going to go raise Martin from the dead, the guy who got murdered, and question him about how he died. And when they do, they get caught by a white who turns out to be, you were correct, great job for guessing, it was Dr. Golan, the psychiatrist. And also his bus driver, and also the guy that used to mow their lawn, and the blind old man that lived next to his grandpa. So his grandfather's death and the downfall of this loop was entirely planned by the whites and whatever scheme they got cooking up, which is supposedly to create a bigger reaction than they had with the last one, and they are kidnapping all the Imbrans. And while they're tied up with this white's hollow, he goes back to the loop and takes Miss Peregrine and Miss Avocet and shoves them in a bird cage, threatens all the kids, and takes off. They take off after him and corner him in a lighthouse with the help of Bronwyn and sort of Millard. He kind of gets shot. He was kind of useless. Anyway, he's a good kid, though. Anyway, he gets shot. They're kind of not looking great, and they manage to kill Dr. Golan, but they lose the birds in the ocean. When they try and look for the birds, they only find one. They're assuming it's Miss Peregrine, but she hasn't changed back. So that's where we're at now, is they have supposedly Miss Peregrine back, or a bird, and they're trying to get her to change back, but she seems reluctant. So that's what you missed on Glee, and I'll get those chapters updated just as soon as I can, guys, promise. Chapter 11. We marched up the steep trail and across the ridge like a company of war-weary veterans, single file, heads down, Bronwyn carrying Millard in her arms, and Miss Peregrine riding the nest-like crown of Fiona's hair. The landscape was gouged with smoking craters, fresh-turned earth thrown everywhere, as if some giant dog had been digging at it. We all wondered what awaited us back at the house, but no one dared to ask. We had our answer even before clearing the forest. Enoch's foot kicked something, and he bent down to look. It was half a charred brick. Panic broke out. The children began to sprint down the path. When they reached the lawn, the younger ones broke out in tears. There was smoke everywhere. The bomb had not come to rest atop Adam's finger as it usually did, but had split him straight down the middle and exploded. The back corner of the house had been reduced to a slumped and smoking ruin. Small fires burned in the charred shell of 2 rooms. Where Adam had been was a raw crater deep enough to bury a person upright. It was easy now to picture what this place would one day become, that sad and desecrated wreck I had first discovered weeks ago. The Nightmare House. Miss Peregrine leapt from Fiona's hair and began to race around on the scorched grass, squawking in alarm. "Headmistress, what happened?" Olive said. "Why hasn't the changeover come?" Miss Peregrine could only screech in reply. She seemed as confused and frightened as the rest of us. "Please turn back," begged Claire, kneeling before her. Miss Peregrine flapped and jumped and seemed to be straining herself, but still couldn't shift her shape. The children crowded around in concern. "Something's wrong," Emma said. "If she could turn human, she would have done it by now." "Perhaps that's why the loop slipped," Enoch suggested. "Remember that old story about Miss Kestrel when she was thrown from her bicycle in a road accident? She knocked her head and stayed a Kestrel for a whole week. That's when her loop slipped." "What's that got to do with Miss Peregrine?" Enoch sighed. "Maybe she's only injured her head and we just need to wait a week for her to come to her senses." "A speeding lorry is one thing," Emma said. "Being abused by whites is quite another. There's no knowing what that bastard did to Miss Peregrine before we got to her." "Whites? As in plural?" "It was whites who took Miss Avocet," I said. "How do you know that?" demanded Enoch. "They were working with Golan, weren't they? And I saw the eyes of the one who shot at us. There's no question." "The Miss Avocet's as good as dead," said Hugh. "They'll kill her for sure." "Maybe not," I replied. "At least not right away." "If there's one thing I know about whites," said Enoch, "it's that they kill peculiars. It's their nature. It's what they do." "No, Jacob's right," said Emma. "Before that white died, he told us why they've been abducting so many Imbrans. They're going to force them to recreate the reaction that made the Hollows in the first place. Only bigger. Much bigger." I heard someone gasp, Everyone else fell silent. I looked around for Miss Peregrine and saw her perched forlornly on the edge of Adam's crater. "We've got to stop them," Hugh said. "We've got to find out where they're taking the Imbrans." "How?" said Enoch. "Follow a submarine?" Behind me, a throat cleared loudly, and we turned to see Horace sitting cross-legged on the ground. "I know where they're going," he said quietly. "What do you mean, you know?" "Never mind how he knows. He knows," said Emma. "Where are they taking her, Horace?" He shook his head. "I don't know the name," he said, "but I've seen it." "Then draw it," I said. He thought for a moment and then rose stiffly, looking like a beggar evangelist in his torn black suit. He shuffled to an ash pile that had spilled from the cracked open house and bent to gather a palm full of soot. Then, in the soft light of the moon, he began to paint on a broken wall with broad strokes. We gathered around to watch. He made a row of bold vertical stripes topped with thin loops like bars and razor wire. To one side was a dark forest. There was snow on the ground, rendered in black, and that was all. Here is a picture of Horace's drawing. When it was done, he staggered back and sat down hard on the grass, a dull, distant look in his eyes. Emma took him gently by the shoulder and said, "Horace, what more do you know about this place?" "It's somewhere cold." Bronwyn stepped forward to study the marks Horace had made. She held Olive in the crook of her arm, the little girl's head resting sweetly on her shoulder. "Looks like a jail to me," said Bronwyn. Olive raised her head. "Well?" came her small voice. "When do we go?" "Go where?" Enoch said, tossing up his hands. "That's just a lot of squiggles." "It's somewhere," Emma said, turning to face him. "We can't simply go someplace snowy and look for a prison. And we can't very well stay here." "Why not?" "Look at the state of this place. Look at the headmistress. We had a damn good run here, but it's over." Enoch and Emma went back and forth for a while. People took sides. Enoch's argued that they'd been too long out of the world, that they'd get snared in the war or caught by hollows if they left, that it was better to take their chances here, where at least they knew the territory. The others insisted that the war and the hollows had come to them now, and they had no choice. The hollows and whites would return for Miss Peregrine, and in ever greater numbers, and there was Miss Peregrine herself to consider. "We'll find another Imbran," Emma suggested. "If anyone will know how to help the headmistress, it'll be one of her friends." "But what if all the other loops have slipped too?" said Hugh. "What if all the Imbrans have already been kidnapped?" "We can't think that way. There must be some left." "Emma's right," Millard said, lying on the ground with a chunk of broken masonry under his head for a pillow. "If the alternative is to wait and just hope that no more hollows come, that the headmistress gets better, I say that's no alternative at all." The dissenters were finally shamed into agreement. The house would be abandoned. Belongings would be packed. A few boats would be requisitioned from the harbor and pressed into service, and in the morning everyone would go. I asked Emma how they were going to navigate. After all, none of the children had been off the island in nearly 80 years, and Miss Peregrine couldn't speak or fly. "There's a map," she told me, turning her head slowly to look at the smoking house. "If it hasn't burned, that is." I volunteered to help her find it. Wrapping wet cloths over our faces, we ventured into the house, entering through the collapsed wall. The windows were shattered. The air hung with smoke. But by the bright light of Emma's hand flame, we found our way to the study. All the shelves had fallen like dominoes, but we shoved them aside and searched through the books spilled across the floor, crouching low. As luck would have it, the book was easy to find. It was the largest one in the library. Emma yelped with joy and held it up. On the way out, we found alcohol and laudanum and proper bandages for Millard. Once we'd helped clean and dress his wound, we sat down to examine the book. It was more atlas than map, bound in quilted leather, dyed a deep burgundy, each page drawn carefully on what looked like parchment. It was very fine and very old, and big enough to fill Emma's lap. "It's called the Map of Days," she said. "It's got every loop ever known to exist." The page she'd opened to appeared to be a map of Turkey, though no roads were marked and no borders indicated. Instead, the map was scattered with tiny spirals, which I took to be the locations of loops. At the center of each was a unique symbol that corresponded to a legend at the bottom of the page, where the symbols reappeared next to a list of numbers separated by dashes. I pointed to one that read 29, 3, 316, 1, question mark, 399, and said, "What is this? Some kind of code?" Emma traced it with her finger. "This loop was the 29th of March, 316 AD. It existed until sometime in the year 399, though the day and month are unknown." "What happened in 399? She shrugged. "It doesn't say." I reached across her and turned to a map of Greece, even more clustered with spirals and numbers. "But what's the point of listing all these?" I said. "How would you even get to these ancient loops?" "By leapfrogging," said Millard. "It's a highly complex and dangerous undertaking, but by leapfrogging from one loop to another, a day 50 years in the past, for instance, then you'll find you have access to a whole range of loops that have ceased to exist in the last 50 years. Should you have the wherewithal to travel to them, within those you'll find still other loops, and so on exponentially." "That's time travel," I said, astonished. "Real time travel." "I suppose so, yes." "So, this place," I said, pointing to Horace's ash painting on the wall. "We wouldn't just have to figure out where it is, but when, too?" "I'm afraid so, and if Miss Avocet is indeed being held by whites, who are notoriously adept at leapfrogging, then it's extremely likely that the place she and the other Imbrins are being taken is somewhere in the past. That will make them all the more difficult to find, and getting there all the more dangerous. The locations of historical loops are well known to our enemies, who tend to lurk near the entrances." "Well then," I said, "it's a good thing I'm coming with you." Emma spun to look at me. "Oh, that's wonderful," she cried and hugged me. "Are you certain?" I told her I was. Tired as they were, the children whistled and clapped. Some embraced me. Even Enoch shook my hand. But when I looked at Emma again, her smile had faded. "What's the matter?" I said. She shifted uncomfortably. "There's "Something you should know," she said, "and I'm afraid it'll make you not want to come with us." "It won't," I assured her. "When we leave here, this loop will close behind us. It's possible you may never be able to return to the time you came from. At least, not easily." "There's nothing for me there," I said quickly. "Even if I could go back, I'm not sure I'd want to." "You say that now. I need you to be sure." I nodded, then stood. "Where are you going?" she asked. "For a walk." I didn't go far, just around the perimeter of the neat yard in a slow shuffle, watching the sky. Clear now. 1 billion stars spread across it. Stars, too, were time travelers. How many of those ancient points of light were the last echoes of suns now dead? How many had been born but their light not yet come this far? If all the suns but ours collapsed tonight, how many lifetimes would it take us to realize that we were alone? I had always known the sky was full of mysteries, but not until now had I realized how full of them the earth was. I came to the place where the path emerged from the woods. In one direction lay home and everything I knew, unmysterious, ordinary, and safe. Except it wasn't. Not really. Not anymore. The monsters had murdered Grandpa Portman, and they had come after me. Sooner or later, they would again. Would I come home one day to find my dad bleeding to death on the floor? My mom? In the other direction, the children were gathering in excited little knots, plotting and planning, for the first time any of them could remember, for the future. I walked back to Emma, still poring over her massive book. Miss Peregrine was perched next to her, tapping with her beak here and there on the map. Emma looked up as I approached. "I'm sure," I said. She smiled. "I'm glad. There's just one thing I have to do before I go." I made it back to town just before dawn. The rain had finally eased, and the beginning of a blue day was percolating on the horizon. The main path looked like an arm with the veins stripped out. Long slashes were flooding, had washed the gravel away. I walked into the pub and through the empty bar and up to our rooms. The shades were drawn and my father's door was closed, which was a relief because I hadn't yet figured out how to say what I needed to tell him. Instead, I sat down with pen and paper and wrote him a letter. I tried to explain everything. I wrote about the peculiar children and the hollows and how all of Grandpa Portman's stories had turned out to be true. I told him what had happened to Miss Peregrine and Miss Avocet and tried to make him understand why I had to go. I begged him not to worry. Then I stopped and read over what I'd written. It was no good. He would never believe it. He'd think I'd lost my mind the way Grandpa had, or that I'd run away and been abducted, or taken a nosedive off the cliffs. Either way, I was about to ruin his life. I wadded up the paper and threw it in the trash. "Jacob?" I turned to see my father leaning in the door jamb, bleary-eyed, hair tangled, dressed in a mud-splashed shirt and jeans. "Hi, Dad." "I'm going to ask you a simple, straightforward question," he said, "and I'd like a simple, straightforward answer. Where were you last night?" I could tell he was struggling to maintain his composure. I decided I was done lying. I'm fine, Dad. I was with my friends. It was like I'd pulled the pin on a grenade. Your friends are imaginary, he shouted. He came towards me, his face turning red. I wish your mother and I had never let that crackpot therapist talk us into bringing you out here, because it has been an unmitigated disaster. You just lied to me for the last time. Now get in your room and start packing. We're on the next ferry. Dad, and when we get home, you're not leaving the house until we find a psychiatrist who's not a complete jackass. Dad! I wondered for a moment if I would have to run from him. I pictured my dad holding me down, calling for help, loading me onto the ferry with my arms locked in a straitjacket. I'm not coming with you, I said. His eyes narrowed and he cocked his head as if he hasn't heard properly. I was about to repeat myself when there was a knock at the door. Go away, my dad shouted. The knock came again, more insistent this time. He stormed over and flung it open, and there at the top of the stairs stood Emma, a tiny ball of blue flame dancing above her hand. Next to her was Olive.
Hello, Olive said. We're here to see Jacob.
He stared at them, baffled. What is this? The girls edged past him into the room. What are you doing here? I hissed at them.
We only wanted to introduce ourselves, Emma replied, flashing a big smile at my dad. We've come to know your son rather well of late, so we thought it only proper that we should pay a friendly call.
Okay, my father said, his eyes darting between them.
He's really a fine boy, said Olive. So brave. And handsome, Emma added, winking at me.
She began to roll the flame between her hands like a toy. My father stared at it, hypnotized. Yes, he stammered. He sure is.
Do you mind if I slip off my shoes? Olive asked,
and without waiting for an answer, she did and promptly floated to the ceiling.
Thanks. That's much more comfortable.
These are my friends, Dad, the ones I was telling you about. This is Emma, and that's Olive on the ceiling. He staggered back a step. I'm still sleeping, he said vaguely. I'm so tired. A chair lifted off the floor and floated over to him, followed by an expertly wrapped medical bandage bobbing through the air. Then please have a seat, Millard said. Okay, my dad replied, and he did. What are you doing here? I whispered to Millard. Shouldn't you be lying down? I was in the neighborhood. He held up a modern-looking pill bottle. I must say, they make some marvelously effective pain tablets in the future. Dad, this is Millard, I said. You can't see him because he's invisible. Nice to meet you. Likewise, said Millard. I went over to my father and knelt down beside his chair. His head bobbed slightly. I'm going away, Dad. You might not see me for a while. Oh, yeah? Where are you going? On a trip. A trip, he repeated. When will you be back? I don't really know. He shook his head. Just like your grandfather. Millard ran tap water into a glass and brought it to him, and Dad reached out and took it as though floating glasses weren't at all unusual. I guess he really thought he was dreaming. Well, good night, he said, and then stood up, steadied himself on the chair, and stumbled back into his bedroom. Stopping at the door, he turned to face me. Jake? Yeah, Dad? Be careful, okay? I nodded. He closed the door. A moment later, I heard him fall into bed. I sat down and rubbed my face. I didn't know how to feel.
Did we help?
Olive asked from her perch on the ceiling. I'm not sure, I said. I don't think so. He'll just wake up later thinking he dreamed all of you.
You could write a letter, Millard suggested. Tell him anything you like. It's not as if he'll be able to follow us.
I did write a letter, but it's not proof.
Ah, he replied. Yes, I see your problem. Nice problem to have, said Olive. Wish my mom and dad had loved me enough to worry when I left home.
Emma reached up and squeezed her hand. Then she said,
I might have proof.
She pulled a small wallet from the waistband of her dress and took out a snapshot. She handed it to me. It was a picture of her and my grandfather when my grandfather was young. All her attention was focused on him, but he seemed elsewhere. It was sad and beautiful and encapsulated what little I knew about their relationship.
It was taken just before Abe left for the war, Emma said. Your dad'll recognize me, won't he?
I smiled at her. You look like you haven't aged a day.
Marvelous, said Millard. There's your proof.
Do you always keep this with you? I asked, handing it back to her.
Yes, but I don't need it anymore.
She went to the table and took my pen and began to write on the back of the photo.
What's your father's name?
Franklin. When she finished writing, she gave it to me. I looked at both sides and then fished my letter from the trash, smoothed it, and left it on the table with the photo. Ready to go? I said. My friends were standing in the doorway waiting for me.
Only if you are, Emma replied.
Now, I'm not great at reading cursive, but I can read this letter because I doubt you're going to be able to get the full context of it. But there's the photo. And there's the letter. Once again, I can read it. I'll read the letter for you guys. Dear Franklin, it was a great pleasure meeting you. This is a photograph of your father and me taken when he lived here. I hope it will be sufficient to convince you that I'm still among the living and that Jacob's stories are no fantasy. Jacob will be traveling with my friends and me for a time. We will keep one another as safe as anyone like us can be. One day, when the danger is past, he'll come back to you. You have my word. Very sincerely yours, Emma Bloom. P.S. I understand you may have discovered a letter I sent your father many years ago. It was inappropriate, and I assure you, unsolicited. He did not respond in kind. He was one of the most honorable men I've ever known. We set out for the ridge, at the spot near the crest where I always stopped to see how far I'd come. This time, I kept walking. Sometimes it's better not to look back. When we reached the cairn, Olive patted the stones like a beloved old pet.
"Goodbye, old Loop," she said. "You've been such a good Loop, and we'll miss you ever so much."
Emma squeezed her shoulder, and they both crouched down and went inside. In the rear chamber, Emma held her flame to the wall and showed me something I'd never noticed before. A long list of dates and initials carved into the rocks.
"It's all the other times people have used this loop," she explained. "All the other days the loop's been looped."
Peering at it, I made out a PM 3-2-1853 and a JRR 1-4-1797 and a barely legible XJ 1580. Near the bottom were some strange markings I couldn't decipher.
"Runic inscriptions," Emma said. "Quite ancient."
Millard searched through the gravel until he found a sharpened stone, and using another stone as a hammer, he chipped an inscription of his own below the others. It read AP 3-9-1940.
"Who's AP?" asked Olive.
"Alma Peregrine," said Millard, and then he sighed. "It should be her carving this, not me." Olive ran her hand over the rough markings.
"Do you think another Imbrim will come along to make a loop here someday?"
"I hope so," he said. "I dearly hope so." We buried Victor. Bronwyn lifted his whole bed and carried it outside with Victor still in it. And with all the children assembled on the grass, she pulled back the sheets and tucked him in, planting one last kiss on his forehead. We boys lifted the corners of his bed like pallbearers and walked him down into the crater that the bomb had made. Then all of us climbed out but Enoch, who took a clay man from his pocket and laid it gently on the boy's chest. "This is my very best man," he said, "to keep you company." The clay man sat up, and Enoch pushed it back down with his thumb. The man rolled over with one arm under his head and seemed to go to sleep. When the crater had been filled, Fiona dragged some shrubs and vines over the raw soil and began to grow them. By the time the rest of us had finished packing for the journey, Adam was back in his old spot, only now he was marking Victor's grave. Once the children had said goodbye to their house, some taking chips of brick or flowers from the garden as forget-me-nots, we made one last trip across the island. Through the smoking charred woods and the flat bog dung with bomb holes, over the ridge and down through the little town hung with peat smoke, where the townspeople lingered on porches and in doorways, so tired and numb with shock that they hardly seemed to notice the small parade of peculiar-looking children passing them by. We were quiet but excited. The children hadn't slept, but you wouldn't have known it to look at them. It was September 4th, and for the first time in a very long time, the days were moving again. Some of them claimed they could feel the difference. The air in their lungs was fuller, the race of blood through their veins faster. They felt more vital, more real. I did too. I used to dream about escaping my ordinary life, but my life was never ordinary. I had simply failed to notice how extraordinary it was. Likewise, I never imagined that home might be something I would miss. Yet as we stood loading our boats in the breaking dawn on a brand new precipice of before and after, I thought of everything I was about to leave behind. My parents, my town, my once best and only friend, and I realized that leaving wouldn't be like I had imagined, like casting off a weight. Their memory was something tangible and heavy, and I would carry it with me. And yet my old life was as impossible to return to as the children's bombed house. The doors had been blown off our cages. 10 peculiar children and 1 peculiar bird were made to fit in just 3 stout rowboats, with much being jettisoned and left behind on the dock. When we'd finished, Emma suggested that one of us say something. Make a speech to dedicate the journey ahead. But no one seemed ready with words, and so Enoch held up Miss Peregrine's cage, and she let out a great screeching cry. We answered with a cry of our own, both a victory yell and a lament for everything lost and yet to be gained. Hugh and I rowed the first boat. Enoch sat watching us from the bow, ready to take his turn, while Emma, in a sun hat, studied the receding island. The sea was a pane of rippled glass spreading endlessly before us. The day was warm, but a cool breeze came off the water, and I could have happily rowed for hours. I wondered how such calm could belong to a world at war. In the next boat, I saw Bronwyn wave and raise Miss Peregrine's camera to her eye. I smiled back. We'd brought none of the old photo albums with us. Maybe this would be the first picture in a brand new one. It was strange to think that one day I might have my own stack of yellowed photos to show skeptical grandchildren, and my own fantastic stories to share. Then Bronwyn lowered the camera and raised her arm, pointing at something beyond us. In the distance, black against the rising sun, a silent procession of battleships punctuated the horizon. We rowed faster. And here is the last picture of the book. This is the first one. We're going to go through all of them, and we're going to start the second one next Tuesday at 8, but this was the first one. And once again, I'll get started on updating the YouTube. If you actually have the tangible book, it shows the source material for all of the photographs, because those are actual photographs. So it's pretty cool. There's also, like, in the one that I have, I don't know if it's in all of them. I would assume that there are different editions, and it maybe is not in all of them. But that's all the sources for all the photos and where he got them, which is really cool. And there's a interview in the back of it. So it's really cool if you actually get the full book. I'm not going to read all of that. Yes, Nightmare Santa is a real photo. That's what makes it weirder to me. Is I'm like, man, some of these super creepy. And then you like read in the back of it, because I did go through them, and then like, yeah, they're real. They're real photos, which is terrible. Well, we're going to read those too, so if you want to stick around, we're going to go through the whole series. I have all of them. I'm prepared to read all of them for you guys. and make cosplay content out of it for no good reason. Because I felt like it. So it'll be a while until we get there, but we're going to start book 2 next week. So that'll be fun. I'm going to post a bunch of Enoch content all this week just so we have some amp up. Because the way the books are structured and there's no table of contents, thank you, Ray, for making me a table of contents for every book now. So I will be able to block out the chapters a little bit better in the next book because I'll be better prepared and know how to meter everything out. But in most children's books, once again, the chapters are all pretty uniform. There's a variance of like a difference of pages is normally like in the single digits. They're all pretty uniform. Not Ransom Riggs. No, not that guy. He'd be like, one chapter is going to be 60 pages. And then this one's going to be 10. And you're like, making it difficult to read all this. So it's harder to block out from a time perspective if you don't know. And there's also pictures thrown in, which detract from the actual reading. So then you have to go through, count how many pages the chapter is, figure out how many pictures are in the chapter, go through, document that, subtract that from the total of pages read, and then figure out exactly how long it's going to take you to read 30. Which I had trouble doing with this first book, but I'll be better prepared than the second one. Also, somebody remind me to wash my hands before I read the book. I didn't really notice it until the end, but I grabbed the top of the book and I pulled my hand away. Now there's a blood stain on one of the pages. Fantastic. You know, my personal life, I'm usually pretty put together when it comes to like my own hobbies, and then this is the one thing that I'm just unprepared for. And then shit happens and I'm like, I got bloodstains on my favorite book. Cool. This is gonna go fantastic. Got activated charcoal all over my every place. Kinda fits the view. Spicy Gatorade stains. Blood's everywhere. It's everywhere. I was doing content earlier and I got blood all over the place. Well, it'll be a fun time. I hope TikTok lets me download this live and then I can use that. Because otherwise it's gonna be lame. But I will get chapters 9 and 10 updated and uploaded as soon as I possibly can. Like I said, I really just have the editing for chapter 9 to do. Chapter 10 is pretty much done. Where's Pond? Oh, Pond, I think, is in the other room chilling, if I am not mistaken. What's your favorite character book-wise in this series? Now, my favorite character... I have two versions of a favorite character in almost everything that I read or watch. And one is the one I relate to the most. And the other one is who would I want to spend time with? And I don't know why I differentiate between those two. So in almost everything, I have like a dual favorite character. And in this series, the one that I relate to the most is Enoch, which is why I chose to cosplay Enoch. The one I would want to spend time with the most is Olive, which doesn't make sense. She's so cute and she's so optimistic. She just wants to float on the ceiling and throw rice at people, and honestly, I support it. She's a sweet baby angel. Anyway, that's cat facts. Ice cold water dabbed with a cotton swab. Thank you. Olive is my exact opposite, probably, yeah. But she's adorable and I love her and I want her to be happy. Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I do that with almost everything that I read, and normally, like half the time, it ends up that way. Like Johannes Cabal, my favorite character, is Horst. But the character in my whole soul that I know I am most like is probably Johannes, and that makes me upset because he's a total asshole. Olive reminds me of Aerie. Yes, me too. Me too. And Aerie, as we all know, is a precious baby angel and should be given every happiness in life. Anyway, I have a book of cats. I'm sure you all know that. But yeah, I have a book of cats, and I would not be opposed to reading a little bit of it for you, like we usually do. And today we're going to do the rusty spotted cat. Oh, I can't do anything today. It's fine. It's just the edge of the pages. It's going to be fine. Like I'm going to get up now at this point. It's too late in the game now, Diana. It's too late in the game. Waited too long. I'm not going to get up at 9:30 at night and go and wash my hands. I should, though. Yeah, I should. I did it again. It's fine. It's not on any of the cats, and that's all I care about. Don't let me touch any of these pictures of cats. I know I just said. The point was before the live I should wash my hands. I'm not going to get up and make you guys wait while I go wash my hands. Besides, we're out of soap in the bathroom, and I know I have some antibacterial soap in the kitchen that I have to relocate because I need specifically, we have like scented soap or whatever, but I can't use that because I will unknowingly use scented soap to wash my hands and then go to take out my contacts with scented soap, and then it's going to burn my corneas. Anyway, I'm not going to pet the book cats. It's fine. Anyway, Rusty Spotted Cat, moving along. The rusty spotted cat is the smallest wild cat in the world, found only in India. As its name suggests, the rusty spotted cat is an overall rusty brown color with tawny all over spots. At just 4 pounds, it's smaller than any standard domestic cat, let alone the wild species. Overall, the proportions of the rusty spotted cat are very like a small domestic cat, with a compact body, short legs, and a short nose. Relatively little is known about this tiny cat. Limited observation suggests it eats mostly rodents, which is consistent with other small wildcats. The rusty spotted cat is approaching endangered status, but it's fully protected from hunting in India. The major threat to the species is the march of time in India, where rapid development and adoption of technology mean that the rusty spotted cat's habitat is cleared to make way for farms. India's world-leading efforts towards sustainability include huge solar parks in the country's interior as well. With camera trap technology, hopefully scientists will be able to study and learn more about the rusty spotted cats. It can be difficult to know a species is threatened if scientists aren't sure where they live to begin with. And before camera traps, most knowledge of the rusty spotted cat was anecdotal. First-hand sightings are important, but that's not enough information. So we don't have a whole lot. That's a lot of words to say that we don't know a lot about this little precious cat. Anyway, I'm not touching it, but little cat. He's so cute. Look at that little baby. He's just a baby. So adorable. Okay, sorry. They're all adorable. I don't know what I'm talking about. All of them are adorable. Be careful to not touch cats. Okay. The thing is that I've been touching shit all day, and I haven't left bloodstains on almost anything else. I think it's just white pages is the problem. White pages are the worst right now, because this has been dry 4 hours. I did this hours ago. But yeah, I know I'm going to use the wrong soap. I'm probably going to do it again. I did it last night, and then I was like, I need to move the antibacterial soap in the bathroom and the scented soap in the kitchen, and then I don't do that. And then I go unthinkingly wash my hands because they're in the same bottle, and then touch my eyeballs. Touch my whole eyeballs. And then it burns, which is not how I want to live my life, but that's how I'm apparently doing stuff now. So, and one of the things that I did earlier on accident was I was pulling up something on my phone, and I had put this blood on for another video, and then I was doing something on my phone, and I was looking up a sound, and I was sitting here like this, and then I pulled my hand away, and it just went all over this cheek, and I was like, I actually didn't plan for blood there. That was an accident. And then I just sort of wiped it off, but not really. And then I was like, well, I mean, put blood everywhere else, so I just didn't wash it off. Yeah, so there's blood in loads of unintentional places, including my feet. Yeah, these would not pass the WikiFeet test. There is no way. There's blood and charcoal all over my feet. And I kicked the fucking ring light stand. Ow. Dead. Absolutely. Fucking just... Someone take me out. Not on a date. Don't do that. I meant the fatal way. How do you get my shit together today? I was fine yesterday. I was doing great yesterday, and I was on the ball yesterday. I got through so much editing yesterday. I was so excited. And then, I was on it. I got so much done. I went to therapy, did all my laundry, cleaned my house, edited the crap out of chapter 10. And then woke up today just a total mess. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Hear me out. Oh, no. Because I saw someone, like a creator I follow, found out that they were on WikiFeet the other day and put it on TikTok, and was like, I don't know what I'm more upset about. That I'm on WikiFeet at all, or that I got such a low score. And I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh no. Luckily, I don't shoot content on my feed. Of course, you can join us next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. And I'm going to go too, because we have games with Murderous Roombas that we got to get to. And we have a little bit of extra time. It's like 30 minutes ahead of schedule. So we're going to play video games for a little bit longer. Am I going to get off here and wash my hands? No. No, I'm not. Because the controller doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck about my controller. Anyway, I will see you all next week. Next Tuesday at 8 p.m. we're going to start book 2, and hopefully I'll have the rest of the content of the rest of book 1 uploaded so you can re-listen to it and enjoy it before we get to the next one. And I will update you in that process as soon as I figure out what the hell is going on. And I'll see you in a few minutes to everybody who's going to join me for the game. Thanks, guys.